hear me?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going?
Um, Pretty good. Gotta
We're
play
live.
with my settings real quick. It's not coming out through
Okay.
headset for some reason.
Well, we are live here today with the weekly Calexit Congress meetings. With us was CEO Jason Wright, and I'm founder, President Marcus Ruiz Evans. This is your chance to ask anything about the Calexit, where's it going, what's happening, etc. We've been doing a lot of interviews with people about Marjorie Taylor Greene and national divorce, and that has gone very well. We've managed to expand our reach out to about 20 to 30 different professors, thinkers, writers, scholars from around America, increase the amount of people who are watching the show aware of us, and increase the amount of dialogue for secession or independence or even normalizing the conversation, as we said, is our long-term strategic goal. And it has been working very well. We even got a news media article by Newsbreak about our work, and also completed an interview with a Politico reporter, David Siders, about the interview series on national divorce. We might get an article there, maybe. So things are going very well. We are normalizing the conversation and getting new Americans thinking about it. Also, starting to see new patterns of how people perceive this conversation. Jason, any updates? Anything you want to cover? And if anybody has any questions, please post them. We will cover them.
Um, Not really. I mean, everything you've been doing is pretty awesome. I'm still keeping my eyes on the national scene. And, people were saying, oh, look, they got him. They've arrested him. This
I was
is
going to ask.
it.
I was going to ask you.
And,
Let's talk about that. What's your thinking?
well, I said it before probably 100 times or so. I'll probably say it 100 more times or so. They're not going to hold a president, either sitting or former. They're not going to hold a president accountable for their actions. It's a what they feel is dangerous precedent. Um, if you do it to Trump, you can do it to Biden, you can do it to Clinton, you can do it to Obama. Obama ran on, we are going to close Guantanamo Bay. It is clear that this is a violation of human rights and civil rights as we know them in America. We should not be doing such heinous things. Gets elected, and then what's that? Guantanamo Bay prison is still open to this very day, this moment that I'm talking right now. But Obama's been out of office even for like more than a term. Like, how does this happen? Obama ran on it. Still, the return to decency Biden hasn't done it yet. Oh no, that's right, because he felt that nothing was wrong with kids in cages on the border. Why would he
Mm,
feel anything's wrong
mm.
with human beings being waterboarded in cages even further south of the border?
Um,
They're not going to do shit. they will have to dig up the bones of every single president other than maybe one or two, and like even then there's still stuff on them you could dig them up for, and then try them, post-mortem, strip them of all rank and title and heroic image and stature for the rest of time, stuff like that. Scrub their names from the history books. Washington, my favorite Adams, um, the other Adams, um, Jefferson, Clinton, Taft. Oh my goodness, Taft. not just was the man about as big a joke in his time as Trump is in this time, or was up until actually winning the RNC election, I guess. But yeah, no, Taft was like his own cabinet felt that he was inept. Yeah, you need to run a country, and so you hire a bunch of people to help you run the country because they're experts in all these different things that it takes to run a country. And they say, you know who doesn't belong in the country running business? This guy. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's it's kind of funny. I mean, a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah,
That's a little bit funny.
but like it's all, you know, we work with legal matters enough that the word precedent, you know, it kind of triggers something in us naturally. But not everyone knows what's so important about that word. And I would like to remind everyone of this little place called Kosovo. Way down in Kosovo. Oh no, that's a different place.
Wait, yeah.
That's,
Oh my God!
That's a much happier place to be.
Yeah. I know. Way down in Kosovo. Yeah. Read that.
Yeah.
I got the.
Yeah, no, it ain't out in the Bahamas. It's you know, northeastern Europe and former Iron Bloc.
I'm sorry, I got to call you out because when America made the Kosovo decision, yeah, it violated basically all aspects of international law going back to World War II and then going back to like 1680. And yeah, America goes around saying it wants to hold up the world's-based or international order and completely violated that when it made Kosovo, ripping apart nations. And yeah, it likes to say it likes to respect international borders and completely violated that entire principle. And yeah, nobody else on the UN Security Council really saw it was legal too. But it's been completely peaceful. I mean, how often do you hear about trouble in Serbia years after the hold on, wait.
Oh,
what?
Yeah.
Oh, we hear about war zone still today, and they didn't really have peace 20 years after the Dayton Accord. So Kosovo really brought no peace at all. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Ignore everything I just said. My bad. Back to you.
Well, so here's the thing about the Kosovo, the Kosovo precedent is that this creates the precedent that America backs these small little independencies, and you know that it's under the guidelines of the United Nations Entrance Charter, and that they do it because they, you know, believe in freedom so much they love the UN and joined up to it, right? Now that's well and good when it comes to Kosovo, but what about this little place called the Donetsk People's Republic? What about Luhansk People's Republic, just north of them? What about all of the people of the Donbass? Mariupol, right? Like, people held a vote in the same manner as Kosovo. Fairly similar people to the people of Kosovo, mind you. Basically, vote to the same ends. You know, we'd like to be our own people. We don't want to be a part of some other country. And for Kosovo, with, I would say, very little strategic value to the United States of America, maybe to NATO in general, it's got some, but to the United States of America, it's not really. Now, you know what would have been? You know what would have been a huge snag of an ally to get right out from under the nose of the Russians, no less? would be the people of the Donbass. The moment that they hold that vote, America could have and should have remembered the precedent that they set with Kosovo and said, hey, the people of the Donbass and Luhansk and Donetsk, they are their people. They have voted, they have, claimed self-determination, and as a member nation of the UN, we have no other choice but to recognize this, agree this, and, because we see that, they're right there on that borderline with Russia, and we've always wanted to have some friends over there, and Ukraine says it's a friend and then just takes a bunch of money and embezzles it and spends it on things like, bazillion-dollar Spanish villas and, decking out the palace in gold because, it helps against shrapnel, I guess. But um, rather than back that thing, we should have backed the people who had been relying on our precedent anyway. They were really hoping that America would come in and say, hey, yeah, you know what? You guys are great. Do you need some help? Do you want to be friends? Welcome to the first world. Instead, they decided to back who? Oh, that's right, the Azov Battalion.
Right. The group that's
people have been posting lately that like, well, yeah, but the Nazi ideology can be conquered after the war is over. Like, sure, we're gonna back neo-Nazi types, and not just neo-Nazi types. Like a lot of the beliefs they hold are like Nazi, like Hitler's Nazis type of Nazi, which somehow is even scarier than neo-Nazis. Like neo-Nazis, it's like, yeah, punch a skinhead in the face, kick a skinhead in the balls. Which I don't promote violence. I'm just saying, it's something easy like that. But the old school Nazis with their concentration camps and gas chambers, just sends a shiver down my spine every time thinking about the Nazis, right? And that's who America decides to back. It's people like that. Rather than use the precedent it had already set and snag that ally for probably the rest of all time, have an ally right there on the border with Russia. But, and it's all super strategic. It would have made a lot of sense in practically every single category you'd look. There would be strong motivations on why to make an ally of these people and recognize them. America instead decided to do the exact backwards opposite thing from justice and democracy, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go by the popular media angle, then no, Russia was a horrible monster. Nobody in Donetsk wanted to leave Ukraine. That was all rigged by Russia. All those ethnic Russian-speaking Russians who had been in Ukraine didn't want to join Russia, secretly want to be part of democracy. It's all a big, elaborate plot by Russia to confuse people. So, I mean, if you buy that narrative, then no. If you don't buy that narrative, then yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Money, the taxpayers' money is being embezzled through the federal branches into these warmongering, war profiteering, war machine manufacturing companies. And they're sending that over there. And they're reaping profits off it. Ukraine's going to have to pay for it eventually one day. Right. How? We've pumped in more money than we actually even have into that. They are not going to be able to. Ukraine's economy never has been, that competitive with the United States, right? Mm-hmm. So 1/3 of what they've got, 1/4 of what they've got so far, would have taken the little Ukrainian children would have taken until they're old and on their deathbeds to finally have that debt, national debt, paid back to America. The way it's looking now is like, you know, those kids, their great grandchildren will still be paying insanely high taxes because the country's got to pay back America for way back in the day when uh, a leader who, you know, I'm not going to say I support conspiracy theories or anything because I don't, but someone brought up a point that what if um, America getting involved in all of this is exactly what Putin wanted? And I'm like, well, you know, it's an interesting point, but that would mean that you'd have to take it all the way and say, what if Zelensky and Putin said, hey, we know how to bring down America. You be the bad guy. I be the good guy. I will get them to throw everything, I mean, everything that they have to support me and keep me propped up. I will keep gaslighting them and baiting them and stringing them along until they're so weak that you can just go in, push them over. They're done. You know how many people started really like, holy shit. You may be onto something. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I don't have any proof. I'm sure someone in the federal government could probably find proof, but like federal whistleblowers are pretty few and far between. And, you know, that's a risk that they'd have to be willing to take if they could, you know. So all we can do is guess and theorize. But out of all of the conspiracy theory stuff, like, you know, aliens assassinated Lincoln and, you know, JFK built the pyramids, all of that stuff. Out of all of that, I would say Zelensky and Putin being in this together to bring America over to there to war, that one does not really sound so far-fetched.
I mean, it's a big claim. We don't. I mean, could be true. We don't have evidence of it. It would require Russia to have somehow tricked America at such a deep, deep, deep level, and the CIA, since they've invested so much in Zelensky. Is that possible? Well, I mean, we've seen America really screw up the war in Afghanistan. They had a lot of.
And Zelensky is an actor.
We're going down conspiracy avenue. I will just say that they couldn't stop the green on blue attacks in Afghanistan. Right? They're like, oh, we vetted all these people. Okay. And then they go and they shoot your own dudes. That's not really quality vetting. I mean, it got so bad that they had to stop having the U.S. military interact with the Afghan military. So, and that was after the CIA and the FBI and everybody looked at, oh, we vetted all these people. And it's like, oh, now they're just killing U.S. soldiers and they killed some colonel. So America has really screwed up at vetting foreign partners the last couple of years. I don't know about the Zelensky thing, but I will totally back you up on the U.S. seems to be able to be fooled big time.
Yeah.
Afghanistan.
So, like, you know, do we know? No. Will we ever know? Probably not. But of all of the harebrained things, this one really doesn't come out as harebrained. This one comes out as potential. There is some potential there that we will never be able to prove, most likely.
I mean, and if we're also going, another thing, I'll just back up. So Osama bin Laden was one of the greatest enemies America ever faced. And his plan was to defeat America by getting it involved in an endless war in the Middle East that would drain its financial resources and break its morale. And he got everything he wanted. We had
it drained resources and morale with the amount of young men sent over and lost.
Massive protests against the Iraq war here. A lot of political cohesion, hundreds of thousands of American men destroyed for the rest of their lives, even though they came back. Lots of resources wasted. And the American military is really, and the American people are unwilling to go into a big fight where a lot of people are going to die because of all the stuff from Iraq and Afghanistan. If they hadn't had those, there might have been more American willingness to confront Russia in Ukraine, if you want to look at it that way. Like, the US public was not up for dead soldiers after all those wars that were completely unnecessary. Maybe if we hadn't done that, they might be more willing to get into a conflict with some death. Now it is, they're like not, especially after Afghanistan, and couldn't even get those Americans out. So there's something there. Now, Russia has said or hinted that it would like to degrade NATO. You had the head of the U.S. military, Lloyd Austin, come and say the point of America's involvement in Ukraine is not to free the Ukrainians, it's to degrade the Russians' ability to ever do something like this again. He literally said that. Well, when you look at it that way, it's a total failure. You have Air Force colonels, admirals, generals coming forward and saying we don't have enough rockets to defend ourselves if we were attacked. Whoops.
Yeah.
NATO's saying like we don't have enough arms. Germany apparently can't defend themselves if Poland attempted to attack them. Now, that's not going to happen, but for the first time since 1945, the country of Germany doesn't have enough weapons to literally defend itself from an invasion. That's what they've said. That's not hyperbole. That's the German defense. Like, we gave it all up. We don't have enough to if somebody attacked us, we can't even defend ourselves.
Well, and Germany is pretty much the left ventricle of NATO. And so, left and right ventricle and atrial,
Sure.
4 parts of the heart. It is one of the key 4 components of the heart that keeps the blood pumping through NATO. If Germany is at that point, then yes, NATO has been significantly destabilized. I think by America's, allegedly America's rapid dismantling of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. I think also kind of, was like a knife to the heart, but through the back.
Yeah, when Germany has to publicly acknowledge that, that's going to be bad. They're doing everything they can to lie to their own people and say, no, it's not that. It's they came out with some article in Deutsche Welle. It was a boat. It was a yacht, and some Ukrainians just got this yacht and kind of did it. And the yacht that the German government said they secretly found the Ukrainians use was not large enough to hold the amount of payload you would need to even commit the blow up that happened in Nord Stream. So they're already looking more dumb than ever, and like they lied to their own people. So expect some hard knocks coming in Germany, like they haven't seen in about 50 to 60 years.
Well, because their leadership is being dumb enough not to do what Chancellor Merkel was smart enough to do, and that's called stand up to your bully. Even if your bully is someone who's supposed to be your best friend, that's all the more reason to stand up to him and say, hey, you're supposed to be my friend. You're not supposed to be stabbing me in the back and then kicking me while I'm down on the ground bleeding.
It would be a question. You're Germany. Supposedly you're an ally, but you are occupied, and they blew up the major source of power to run your economy without telling you, and they caused you to go into a recession, the likes of which you haven't seen since, I think, the mass inflation in the 1930s. And it also looks like they interfered in your election to get a weaker candidate, Schultz, in, so they could position him. So I don't know if I was like,
yeah, right. And that was actually proven.
You're rigging our elections. You're cutting off our power. You're occupying our country. You also spied on our. I mean, let's remember, Angela Merkel also got slapped in the face. She wasn't doing that much better.
Yeah, they were tapping her phone.
Right. So after Obama's
America had wiretapped the phones of most of the allies that it had.
Mm-hmm.
Not just any phones, the phones of the leaders, the heads. Now, America, how pissed off would you be if you found out that, I don't know, England had bugged the White House and had a tap on Joe Biden's phone?
And they told
How
you that we would never
freaking pissed would you? Yeah.
Yeah. And they blew up
Because we're friends and friends don't do that. Yeah, and then they come in and they're like, oh, yeah, you like DAPL? You like the Dakota Access Pipeline? Well, we're down with native cause, my brothers.
Yeah, and they blow it
And
up.
then they blow it up.
And then they also rig an election.
Oh, what? Us? That was us. Here, let us put in this other guy who we like, who's totally pro-England and wants America to rejoin as the 50 colonies.
I'm just saying, like, what's that phrase with friends like these, who needs enemies?
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's an old phrase that's like, your friends are this bad. It's like, wow. It's also interesting. I mean, Macron went to China recently, and word on the streets is he went to China because he's like seeing the way things are going, and he doesn't want his country to be like Germany or England. And he's like, well, they're going to go over the cliff with America, but I don't want France to. So he went to China and goes, I'll back a peace deal in Ukraine. Just don't have us get sucked down the drain like the rest of Europe, China. So
here's the thing about Macron, that I know that this man sees international law a lot more than some other world leaders. And so, like, he does seem to really, like, when he made his comment about Armenians live in countries outside of Armenia all around the world. They live in countries like Artsakh. They live in countries like France and Belgium and California.
Yeah.
Didn't say America. Didn't say countries like America. It said countries like this, that, and California. Now, this man recognizes the right to self-determination. And I think he sees what I've been saying this whole time. I am not a fan of Putin, dude. But you know who's on the right side of the fence on this and who's on the wrong side? Legally speaking, Putin somehow managed to be on the right side because he is acknowledging the right to self-determination and backing those people against their oppressors.
Yeah, I'd like us to be careful of language like that. I get what you're talking about, but we now have an audio quote where you just said Putin was on the right side. So if somebody wanted to set us up, we can do what we want. So please be more cautious with your language.
Well, and Putin's done a lot for the restoration of the monarchy movement, or whatever, the restoration of the Tsar movement over there. A lot of the youth see it as like the only way they're going to get rid of him. And so they're like, hey, yeah, let's find someone who's like, hell-bent on godliness and peaceful action, and have the church coronate them, and that person can be Putin's boss. And if Putin ever does anything, he can just fire him right then and there. Doesn't even have to keep Putin once he's coronated. And like, here in America, they talk about the restoration of the Tsar like, oh my God, this is Putin's ploy to become the Tsar. No, Putin is not eligible to be the Tsar. Yeah, Putin not eligible. Putin could not be the Tsar. Just saying.
Great.
So what I'm saying is, I think that America should back a push for the Tsar and peace times and peace talks. I think Macron sees the international law provides a precedent to at least start the peacetime and peace talks. I think America could use this time to get involved with the peace talks and also if able to regain friendship terms with Russia, because, when 9/11 happened, Russia was actually the first country that reached out. And America said no.
Okay. We're not doing this again in the future. I'm just gonna say.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
From an international policy standard for people who are in favor of America and anti-Putin and Putinania or whatever. America using that peacetime to get all super chummy and friendly again and have people coming and going and bringing our culture over there and being supportive of the restoration of the Tsar, could lead to no more Putin running the show over there and actually have someone who's more of a, holy type, too scared to offend God to do crazy stuff kind of thing. Which would then help a lot of this whole potential World War III stuff calm down, which is the main reason to do it. Sure, America needs a reason other than no more World War III, 2 minutes to midnight for World War III. But America's thing could be well, hey, you've got the motivation of you could help to get rid of Putin. And, the dude is pretty freaking psycho. And, a lot of other world leaders pretty freaking psycho. Is that Duterte down in the Philippines, right? I think people who do the extreme measures, even here in America, right? The people who jump to the extreme measures around the world are the people who are driving the world further and further towards the brink of destruction. And that it's the duty of the people to, really securely change the way. And, by change the way, I mean, don't just vote them out, but also do it in a way that they are totally landslided out of the office. They, leave their elected life and go into a life of public shame for, having led their country so poorly or been so, messed up to their own people, right? But again, it would take, just like America would have to prosecute crimes of presidents. It's something a lot of people aren't willing to do, is hold authority accountable. If we did, though, we really held them accountable and replaced them with those who are not like them, then we could actually turn this world around as a species. And I mean, I'm not just talking Calexit anymore. I'm talking all humanity here. We can apply it to Calexit and America, but it really, it applies to every freaking country. I don't think there's a place in the world that this wouldn't really apply to. We've got to oust the corrupted and, clean out the corruption, the infection, and get something healthy going again, because this world, it just ain't working. And, it ain't just America that's doing it, as much as we like to gripe about America. It's not just America, Russia, and China. It's, a little bit of everyone and everything. As humanity, we've kind of got a disorder that we need to figure out, get some help with.
Okay. Could I respond?
Totally.
I don't want to have any more conversations on Russia or Putin or the Nets People's Republic again. Not on this channel. So I'm straight up saying it. I'm kind of tired of going, okay, I get the point, but now let's make sure to frame it like, bro, I just had to do an explanation on I don't need to be associated with this anymore. So I don't want to have any more conversations on Russia or Donetsk or how they're cool or how they got it and have to do nuance and then have to do these caveats. Because I'm always in the position where I have to go, okay, just to make sure for everybody, we didn't mean X, Y. I don't need that, man. I don't want to do this anymore. So maybe we could just have conversations on Calexit, because we're already tied to Russia as Russian spies. And then every episode seems like we're talking about Russia. And then we're going, okay, well, we're not saying they're great, but let's talk about how they did something great. And I'm like, I don't want to be associated with this conversation anymore, respectfully. Okay, well, I didn't mean to do all that. You wanted me to listen to your piece. I did. I'm really uncomfortable with this. I've said this a couple of times. I just don't want to do it again. I didn't mean to have you stop. I hope we could keep going with the meeting.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot my thing was on mute. I was sitting there talking. Yeah, no, I got you. Read you loud and clear.
Not trying to be mean. I don't want to be in a position, and I don't want to do another let me explain myself apology speech. So not anymore. So I'll leave it there. Not taking a stance, not this, not that, just saying. Could I ask you about Trump? How they're arresting him. Is there something to that? Is there not something to that?
Well, they released him on his own recognizance. They don't do that to someone who's committed a capital offense. They don't do that to someone who's committed federal level treason against the United States of America. So, again, they ain't doing nothing. It's all song and dance. It's all show. Biden sucks. Trump sucks. Which one of them sucks more? I don't know. I don't even want to waste the time figuring it out. They both suck. They suck as much as Putin sucks. They all suck. Every last one of them.
Why now? Why go after him now?
So it's the same thing with the whole Mar-a-Lago raid, right? They made a big stink about, he may have some sort of documents. Then they realized, oh, we definitely have all sorts of documents we shouldn't have. They went and made absolutely certain to find some sort of documentation that he shouldn't have had, so that they can then do a quid pro quo. I forget that you committed this offense, and you forget that I committed the same offense. As it turned out, on the heels of, oh yes, we have proof he had several documents that he should not have had. Turns out Biden has had all sorts of boxes and boxes and boxes, rooms full of all sorts of insanely sensitive documents. What did they do to Biden? Oh no, he still runs the country. That's right.
Yeah.
The man was committing federal crimes ever since he left the White House when he worked there under President Obama. Ever since Obama's been out of office, this man has been committing a federal crime. But what's that? We're still under President Joseph R. Biden, the same man who once was Senator Joseph R. Biden, who voted against desegregation, segregation being the act of splitting people up based on ethnicity, and racism in action in society. He voted against ending societal racism in action. And that was because he, quote, don't want my children to grow up in the jungle. So,
Right.
you know, yeah, I
He
guess
did say
this.
that.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, all sorts of people done said all sorts of things, and not sure why I said that all Southern like, but all sorts of people said and done all sorts of things.
Yeah. So, what's the
Yeah.
perspective from the Deep South on Trump's being sent to, I guess, just an appearance in court?
Well, so from what I'm gathering, from what I'm seeing online and hearing from folks, because, you know, I have friends from all across the political spectrum. I've got friends who abso-freaking-lutely do not partake in politics at all whatsoever. And they're my friend. They're friends with the head of Calexit, who, like, does nothing but yak people's ears off about politics.
My man.
But so I've got friends all across the spectrum. The ones who are Trumpers or Trump voters, right? Some of them more diehard than others. Some of them regretfully voted for him, right? Some of them are like, I hope I don't have to vote for him again, kind of a thing. You know, there's a whole spectrum just in the Trump chasm. But for the most part, the read seems to be that, you know, if they catch a serial murderer and they know that he's murdered like 50 people and he's been eaten on them too, they don't let him out on their own recognizance. When someone's done something that is punishable by death, potentially, they don't let them out on their own recognizance. So why is it that they're arresting this man? Oh, when you look at the actual charges, it's not actually for treason and sedition and working with Russia to bring down the United States of America. It's actually some like tax purger type stuff, financial stuff. You know who usually gets away?
Secret, right?
Correct. Not the Rothschilds giving, or not Rothschilds, Rosenbergs. Not the Rosenbergs giving away the nuclear secrets.
When they went in there, people were like, what the hell are you doing? They go, oh, he had nuclear secrets, folks. Probably that's what this is.
Yeah, more like whatever all that classified document stuff is, that's not what these charges are. And here's why they're never going to bring charges on that. Because Joseph R. Motherfreaking Biden would also be facing similar and even worse for the same exact crime. Same exact crime committed by current president. They are not going to hold the former accountable for it. They're not. It gives a precedent. That word is like freaking all powerful in politics.
Right.
Especially when having to do with law in politics. That's why the precedent that is before us nationally is actually that the president, former or currently sitting, is immune to prosecution and, you know, facing judgments and justice and being imprisoned. Yes, they're immune from imprisonment. They're also not allowed to drive on public roads, but, you know.
you know, um,
What they're going after Trump for is some menial stuff, more to do with tax and personal stuff and lying.
the thing that got me was, so when they raided Trump's house initially, I had this impression that they had screwed up, that they had overplayed their hand, and didn't realize that they were caught off guard by how big a national backlash was there, because you had Nancy Pelosi and Joseph Biden saying, we're not going to talk about it, barely acknowledged it. You had Merrick Garland coming up on TV going, I did everything right, which is not what an attorney general should be saying or acting like. An attorney general should not be talking about how, let me make sure I cover my own ass first. You're supposed to be talking about how you did the right thing for the law in America. That's not what he was. So it was CYA all over the place. And then you saw the news coming forward and saying, well, it's got to be nuclear secrets, right? We don't know that for sure, but I'm sure it is just something. And then it turned out not nuclear secrets. And then it turned out, and then this week, now we found out that for a fact, Joseph Biden knew about the raid and okayed the raid. So he outright lied to everybody. And we know for a fact that we have a sitting president personally approved of a raid on a former president, something he and Pelosi said, no, we didn't do. It totally independent Justice Department did this all on their own. We had nothing to do with it. Total and complete lie, all out this week. Good sign or bad sign for national cohesion?
I would say terrible / horrific.
Oh.
Almost the kind that would say impending apocalyptic.
Oh, okay. So not good. You wouldn't say, hey.
I mean, unless your goal is to drive a permanent wedge, like, when you're cutting a block of cheese in half and there's that little tiny bit, or you're trying to cut through the pizza, there's that little bit that it won't cut through. Yeah, that's pretty much all that's holding things together late in these last several years. And so if their goal is to finally sever that permanently, I think they're right on course. Keep going full steam ahead. You should achieve your goal pretty soon. If their goal was to get people on one side to calm down against, with their stuff against the other side. Yeah, no, definitely not good. Not good at all. I would say it's more kind of antithetical. It's like saying, I want peace while walking through a shopping mall with a machine gun mowing people down.
Nice.
I mean, that'd be the equivalent. And I'm just using a current modern American analogous form there. I'm not making light of mass shootings. It's just something that's like the most common thing in America now, other than breathing. Like, number one is breathing. I think number two might be drunk driving. And then number three, mass shootings.
That should not be funny.
Dark sense of humor.
God, I feel horrible. I'm laughing my ass off, but I'm like,
oh, Marcus, you're not supposed to laugh that much. Come on, brother.
It's you're not laughing, you're crying. You know the deal.
Yep. If you're not laughing so hard that you're crying, then you're not really paying attention.
That's even better. That's even freaking better. Wow. Well said. Wow. That's even better.
So ultimately, everything that I just said about all of that in the last 10 minutes or so, all of that applies to America, applies to its current state. You can use it as your compass for projections for the future of America. You can take a look at all of the various aspects of America, right down to the most tedious of the minutia. Um, how are roadway building contracts assigned, and waste disposal and stuff like that, right? The real tedium of nation running. Um, you you look into every last little aspect and you apply this filter to it of the national division, and the way that one side is like, hey, they're evil, they're wrong, they're bad, we're gonna prove it, but we're not gonna do it ourselves because that would totally be bad. We're just like gonna let the justice take care of itself. Oh, look, justice took care of itself, had absolutely nothing to do with us. That all gets disproven. You are proven to be a liar. Then you go and double down, and so yeah, no, there's no way your own people are going to believe you. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that the people you were just saying all that stuff against are ever going to work with you, going to consider working with you, or anyone like you. Some poor soul in the future is going to suffer because they're going to remind this side of you. That's how bad you are. And so you still double down and drive the last nail in the coffin and set it on fire and push the whole boat out onto the lake. And
why not?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you went that far with it. I guess the only thing to do after that is climb up on top of that funeral pyre and add yourself to it, because that is one heap of a trash fire you don't want to stick around for, if you catch my drift. When America collapses, if there's not a society put together already, things gonna be bad. And like I'm talking like Mad Max looks good. You can call me Master Blaster right now.
That's a good point. What was I going to say? Yeah, totally blanked out. I had something important to say. Oh yeah, that was it. So, what have you heard about China and Russia and the BRIC countries announcing a massive currency union to replace the US dollar?
Oh yeah. Like I've been saying, the USD is going down. They keep just printing more and pumping more into their companies that make them bazillions and send off those products over to Ukraine. And, it's like, when are the people going to wake up and realize that the entire national fund has been embezzled? We are now in greater debt than we were before 9/11, or when 9/11 happened. And let's not forget, like, that pull from 9/11 and the stock market crash, that's been getting filled in and worked on for a while. Now we're even deeper down than that ever put us. Like saying Great Depression, like, no, the Great Depression was that hiccup back in, after the Roaring 20s went up. Because, I guess the opium and cocaine supply was kind of short. But, well, and booze. That was the other big. Opium, cocaine, and booze. But, yeah, and then the one thing I like from swing jazz. But yeah, it quickly. I mean, I'm not saying like everyone panic. The U.S. dollar is worth nothing and America has collapsed. Sure. You just don't know it. But I kind of am. I mean, really, like, people wake the freak up. America collapsed. The dollar is worth nothing. Has been worth absolutely nothing for a while. when I was born in 1986, the dollar is more than like 200% inflated. Like, dude, calling it a joke just makes me want to cry because I like jokes, and that seems offensive to joke.
Okay, fair enough.
The ship is pretty much, our sinking ship analogy that
Right.
we've used since it was Trump versus Clinton, right?
Yeah.
The ship hit the iceberg. The ship is full stop dead in the water. The bow has like 90 something percent slipped under the water, enough so that waves are lapping up over the deck here and there. Why are we all still pretending that we don't need lifeboats? Why have we not run to the lifeboats, filled them up with every last man, woman, and child that can fit, and got them to safety? Why are we still on board? Why? Why? Once more with even more fervor. Why? I mean, really, people. WTF, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. What in the actual freak? Because, yeah, no, this is way past the writing on the wall. The writing on the wall happened years ago, and it told us about stuff that happened several years ago. We were trying to warn everyone about that and the preceding consequences, which is kind of our current modern situation. I can't even tell you all of how bad it's gonna be. There's all sorts of possibility. Unicorns could fly through the sky. Everything could be just fine. Or it could be a lot more like The Walking Dead meets zombie apocalypse, or what? Not zombie. World War Z, right? Where there are like last bastions of hope, couple of little bastions of society. Everything else is absolute chaos. A few speckled survivors here and there form their own little cliques and groups and try to survive. And the mindless horde just goes and pilfers everything. Sure, it could be all rainbows and unicorns. But usually when countries collapse, that's not what happens. Also, unicorns aren't real.
Right.
And rainbows are an optical illusion.
Right. Right.
Lifeboat time.
Okay. Any last minute topics before we wind down? Cover.
Well, I don't know. I'm hoping everyone stays safe, does well, enjoys whatever decent shift the weather may be bringing their way, if it is. And if it's not, hunker down, stay safe, stay warm, hold each other, appreciate each other, value each other. It's going to get darker and worse and scarier before it gets better. And I know that because it's already getting darker and worse. And we are still not doing about it. The only way it's going to get better when we all do something about it together. So until such a time as we all decide that we're done freezing our butts off, huddling together on the sinking ship, then, stay safe, stay warm, appreciate what we got, because you never know when it could be gone. And when it's gone, it's gone. just like America, it's gone. It's going to be gone. And waiting around to be left in the void is quite a scary prospect. So, viva todos Californios. Sí, se puede. Mucho gusto, hermanos y hermanas. Adiós.
Always a sobering response. Always a sobering response. Yeah. Thank you. And we'll leave it there. Thank you all for being here. Hope you found the conversation interesting. As always, we want to keep doing this. Please watch our interview series. We're trying to make conversation around secession and independence and division and legal and build up our reputation that it could be done legally and peacefully. I think Jason just exemplified the spirit of all of us now. It's about love and compassion and not any other motivation. We'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Jason, as always, a great show. And Daniel, sorry, I just saw you. But we're going to end the show. Daniel, do you have something you wanted to say, brother? I'm sorry. I just saw you. Is there any comments you'd like to leave, Daniel? We'll give Daniel a second to see if he has anything. Okay. We're going to leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate it. We will see you soon. And please keep the conversation going because America is not getting better. So, Jason, as always, it's always a pleasure. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon. And we'll go from there.